If you're between the ages of 30 and 45 and you don't feel like yourself and you wonder what's wrong, this video is for you. I get it because I've been there. You know that feeling of brain fog where if you're working, you have to schedule meetings before lunch because after 2 o'clock, your brain turns into mush. Or the feeling of, why is this bothering me so much? The same situation can happen on different days, and one day it doesn't bother you at all. It rolls right off you. And the next day you get so mad and you're just furious and you start throwing crap. It's like you turn into the Incredible Hulk. And you say to yourself, why can't I control this? I've always been able to do this. Why did I react that way? What's going on? It's this roller coaster of emotions. And then there's the fatigue, right? You feel good in the morning, but by 2 o'clock you hit a wall and you keep going. And then by the time you get home at the end of the workday, you have nothing left. And now you're with your family, the ones that you love the most, and you're not yourself anymore. So, you know, the thing is, I'm so happy that we're finally talking about hormones in women, and now perimenopause is getting some traction. But the thing that bugs me, and I cannot stand it, this is the hill I will die on, is when people say, perimenopause can start in your early 30s. I call BS. Perimenopause is the period surrounding menopause, several years before to 1 year after. It's not a 10 to 15 year sentence. Now, granted, your symptoms may feel like perimenopause, but it's not perimenopause if you're in your 30s. Or early 40s, unless you're going to go through early menopause. And now that people are talking about perimenopause, they're normalizing this without intending to, but by saying, I know what's wrong with you, you're perimenopause. It's not your hormones that are the problems. It's rusty locks. Your hormones might be okay, but there's inflammation, there's years of neglect, and you haven't taken care of yourself because you're so busy taking care of everybody else. Women were wired that way. We, in the history of mankind, have been the primary caregivers for babies that rely on us. And so we are wired to put ourselves last. And we get away with it when we're younger. And then all of a sudden, somewhere in your 30s, things start to shift. And now you can't put yourself last anymore. You actually have to start taking care of yourself and get over the idea that self-care is selfish. So years of neglect and not taking care of yourself, that is something that leads to the emotional roller coaster, the adrenal dysfunction that messes up your hormones. And it might feel like perimenopause, but guess what? It's not. It's because of another issue. So don't call it that. Call it what the cause is. Huge cause for hormone-related symptoms is gut inflammation, because there are these healthy, helpful bacteria in your gut that help you metabolize your estrogen. And then there's these unhelpful, rowdy crowd bacteria, aka dysbiosis. If your microbiome is full of unhelpful bacteria from inflammation and a poor diet, then they secrete a chemical called Beta-Glucuronidase. Now, Beta-Glucuronidase prevents your body from getting rid of estrogen. Your body gets rid of estrogen through excretion out your gut when you have a bowel movement. Your liver processes the estrogen, attaches it to a conjugate called glucuronic acid, which is a chaperone. It attaches to the estrogen, and the idea is that it's going to chaperone the estrogen out of the body so that you don't need it anymore. It's used up. It's an estrogen metabolite. You don't need it. But if you have this unhealthy bacteria, it secretes the beta-glucuronidase, which breaks the bond between the estrogen and the glucuronic acid, and now the estrogen can reabsorb. So that leads to estrogen recirculation, and that leads to too much estrogen. You may be making the right amount of estrogen with your cycles, but because you can't get rid of it, it piles up and you have symptoms of estrogen dominance, which is very commonly shows up as this roller coaster of emotions. too sensitive. Something that didn't bother you one day makes you weepy or super mad the next day. Queen bitch syndrome. That's estrogen dominance. The last thing that is so common for causing these hormone imbalances that people write off as perimenopause is toxic exposures. A buildup of environmental toxic exposures leads to inflammation, damages your cell membranes. Your hormones don't work right because the hormone receptors that sit on the membrane are now damaged. And so you have rusty locks, and you can have good keys, but if you have rusty locks, the door doesn't open. Not only that, some of these toxins act like estrogen. They're hormone mimickers. They're disruptors. Specifically, there's a mycotoxin called zearalenone that's secreted from certain molds that is an estrogen mimicker. It's very potent estrogen-like properties. All the plastic chemicals and anything with a benzene ring structure mimics estrogen because estrogen has that ring structure in its chemical formulation. And so you get these estrogen mimickers. So if it's rusty locks, if it's estrogen mimickers, if it's gut inflammation and dysbiosis leading to inability to metabolize your hormones, and the years of self-neglect, all of those things mess up your hormones and make it a really bumpy ride. And the treatment is not just more hormones or birth control pills or antidepressants. Another thing is that your gut, back to gut inflammation, your gut is a primary source of serotonin. Serotonin is the neurotransmitter that is the everything's okay neurotransmitter. You're not too excited, you're not angry, everything's fine, everything's good. You don't have enough serotonin, you don't feel good, you're depressed. 80% of your serotonin comes from your gut. So if you have that gut inflammation, it's going to make you feel like you're perimenopausal because of mood swings because of abnormal serotonin levels. I'm so glad we're talking about hormones, but do not accept a diagnosis of perimenopause if you're in your 30s. Something is wrong and you don't need hormones to balance it. You need to get to the underlying root cause, figure it out, and it'll make the next 10 to 15 years, and actually the rest of your life, a heck of a lot better. I'm Dr. Yvonne Karney. I'm the Hormone Locksmith. If you're wondering if you have hormone imbalances, take my hormone quiz. So there's about 64 questions, and it takes a few minutes to complete, but you're going to get a lot of information, and it'll tell you if you have rusty locks, because if you have a boatload of hormone imbalances, that means you got rusty locks. And please, if you know someone that's in her 30s that goes, oh yeah, I'm in perimenopause, that's what's wrong with me, please send them this video. Get help. Don't just take that for an answer. It's not that. And you deserve a lot better. Take care.